Welcome back to HOA Boardroom Battles. I thought it would be a warning. It was a campaign. I am standing in the visitor lot at Clearbrook in St. Paul on a Tuesday morning, and Patricia is screaming at me while a tow truck idles 10 feet away. She is jabbing her finger at my work truck like it personally insulted her family. The driver is standing by the wheel lift with his arms crossed, watching this unfold, and I can see he does not want to be here. Patricia is the HOA vice president, and right now she is acting like I just committed a felony by parking in a spot that has been legal for 2 years. "You need to move that vehicle right now or it is getting towed," she says. "This is a fire lane. You are in violation." I look at the curb. No paint, no signage within 50 feet. I have been parking here since I moved in, and nobody said a word until last week when I filed a complaint about the HOA threatening to fine me for having a guest over on a weeknight. I work nights as a fleet mechanic for a municipal garage, and my shifts run late. My brother had stopped by to drop off some tools, and Patricia sent me a violation notice the next day, claiming I was running a business out of my unit. I am not. I appealed it. And now, suddenly, every parking spot I use is a problem. "This is not a fire lane," I say. "There is no marking." "It does not need a marking," Patricia snaps. "It is in the rules. If you want mercy, move somewhere without an HOA." I pull out my phone and open the CC&R document I downloaded last night. I have highlighted the fire lane section. It says fire lanes must be marked with red curb paint or posted signage. This spot has neither. Patricia does not even look at my phone. She turns to the tow driver. "Hook it up." The driver hesitates. He looks at me, then at Patricia, then at the curb. "Ma'am, I do not see any markings here." "I will send you the board resolution," Patricia says. "We passed it last month. This entire row is now a fire lane." She does not produce the resolution. She does not show him anything. She just waves her hand like that settles it. The driver is clearly uncomfortable, but Patricia is staring him down, and I can see him doing the math. He is a contractor. The HOA probably gives him a lot of business. He does not want to lose that contract. "I am calling the non-emergency line," I say. Patricia laughs. "Go ahead. They will tell you the same thing. This is private property. The HOA has enforcement authority." I dial anyway. I explain the situation. The dispatcher says an officer will come by, but it might take 30 minutes. Patricia hears that and smiles. She pulls out her own phone and starts typing. "You have 15 minutes, she says. Then the truck goes up, and you can deal with the tow yard." I do not move. I stand next to my truck with my arms crossed. The tow driver leans against his rig, clearly waiting for someone to make a decision. Patricia keeps looking at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone. The energy is strange. She is not just enforcing a rule, she is enjoying this. My phone buzzes. It is a group email from the Clearbrook Property Owners Association. Subject line, enforcement update. I open it. It is a blast message to the entire community announcing a new zero-tolerance policy for parking violations. Effective immediately, any vehicle parked in an unauthorized area will be towed without warning. No grace period. No courtesy notice. The email lists a dozen new restricted zones, including the visitor lot where I am standing right now. I look up at Patricia. "When was this passed?" "Last night," she says. "Emergency board session." "I was not notified." "You just were," she says, waving at my phone. "That is not how this works. You need to give residents notice before you change the rules." "We gave notice," Patricia says. "Check your email." The email is time-stamped 11 p.m. last night. I check the CC&Rs again. Rule changes require 14 days advance notice to all residents. This email went out less than 12 hours ago, and it claims the policy is already in effect. The driver steps toward my truck. Patricia nods at him. I step between him and the vehicle. You cannot tow this, I say. The rule change is not valid yet. The driver stops. He looks at Patricia. She pulls something out of her pocket. It is a Ziploc bag. Inside is a torn piece of paper. She holds it up like it is a trophy. This is the old permit backing, Patricia says. Your decal expired last month. You are driving an unregistered vehicle in the community. I look at my windshield. My permit decal is right there. It is bright green. It says valid through December 2025. I point at it. That decal is right there. That is a counterfeit, Patricia says. What? Someone has been making fake decals, she says. We are investigating. Until we clear it up, any vehicle with a suspect decal is subject to removal. This is insane, I say. You are making this up. Patricia steps closer. I can put you on the agenda and keep you there, she says. Do you want to spend the next 6 months fighting me in hearings, or do you want to move your truck and avoid the fees? I do not answer. I pull out my own phone and open my dash cam app. I have a camera running on my truck 24/7. I work municipal fleet, and we keep cameras on all our vehicles in case of accidents or vandalism. The camera has been recording this entire conversation. Patricia does not notice. She is too busy waving the Ziploc bag at the tow driver like it is a warrant. Hook it up, she says again. The driver finally moves. He walks to the back of my truck and starts positioning the wheel lift. I do not stop him. I stand there with my phone in my hand, watching. Patricia is watching too, and I can see her getting more confident with every second. The hydraulic arm extends. The tow hook is about to latch onto my rear axle, and then a second vehicle pulls into the lot. It is a white sedan with a property management company logo on the door. A woman in a blazer steps out holding a clipboard. She walks over with a forced smile. Good morning, she says. I am Angela from the management company. I got a call about an enforcement issue. Patricia turns. We are handling it. Angela looks at my truck, then at the tow driver, then at me. Can someone explain what is happening? I start to answer, but Patricia cuts me off. This vehicle is parked in a newly designated fire lane, she says. The owner was notified last night. He refused to move. We are exercising our authority under the CC&Rs. Angela frowns. She flips through her clipboard. I do not have any record of a board resolution changing the fire lane designations. We passed it last night, Patricia says. I need to see the documentation, Angela says. We cannot enforce a rule change without proper notice. Patricia's face goes red. She starts to argue, but Angela holds up her hand. I am going to need you to stop the tow until I can verify this. The driver immediately unhooks the lift. He steps back. Patricia glares at him like he just betrayed her. Angela turns to me. Can I see your permit decal? I walk her over to my windshield. She takes a photo with her phone, then checks something on her tablet. She nods. This decal is valid. It matches our records. Patricia is still holding the Ziploc bag. Angela looks at it. What is that? Evidence, Patricia says. The decal is counterfeit. Angela takes the bag and examines it. This is not evidence, she says. This is a random piece of paper. It does not match any permit format we have ever used. Patricia snatches the bag back. You are not a board member, she says to Angela. You do not have authority here. I am the property manager, Angela says. I absolutely have authority here. And if you proceed with this tow without valid documentation, the association is going to be liable. Patricia does not back down. She turns to the driver again. I am authorizing this tow as vice president of the board. Do it. The driver does not move. He is looking at Angela. Angela shakes her head. If you hook that vehicle, I will file a complaint with the state licensing board, she says. You will lose your tow operator certification. The driver gets back in his truck. He does not say anything. He just starts the engine and drives away. Patricia watches him go. and I can see her whole body shaking with anger. Angela hands me her business card. File a formal complaint with our office, she says. Include photos, timestamps, and any communications you have received. I will make sure the board sees it. She walks back to her car and leaves. It is just me and Patricia now. She is still holding the Ziploc bag. She looks at me like she wants to say something, but she does not. She just turns and walks toward the clubhouse. I stand there for a minute, letting the adrenaline drain. Then I get in my truck and check my dash cam footage. It recorded everything. Patricia giving instructions to the driver. Patricia waving the fake evidence. Patricia threatening to keep me on the agenda. All of it. I save the file to my phone and email it to myself. Then I drive to work. My shift starts at 6 p.m. I work until 2 a.m. When I get home, there is a notice taped to my front door. It is from the HOA. It says I am being fined $500 for interfering with an authorized tow operation. It says I have 72 hours to pay, or the fine will increase to $1,000. It says if I do not pay within 10 days, the HOA will place a lien on my property. I rip the notice off the door and go inside. I am paying for my mother's rehab care after a stroke, and every dollar counts. $500 is not nothing. $1,000 would put me behind on other bills. I cannot let this stand. I spend the next 2 hours going through the HOA documents. I find the section on fines. It says fines can only be issued after a formal hearing where the resident has an opportunity to respond. It says the hearing must be scheduled at least 7 days in advance. It says the resident has the right to present evidence and call witnesses. None of that happened. Patricia just decided I owed a fine and sent me a notice. I draft an email to the board. I explain that the fine is invalid because I was not given a hearing. I attach a copy of the dashcam footage showing Patricia directing the tow without proper authority. I attach a screenshot of the email timestamp showing the rule change was not properly noticed. I send it at 3 a.m. and go to bed. The next morning, I wake up to 15 new emails. The first one is from Patricia. It says my appeal is denied. It says the board reviewed the footage and determined I was in violation. It says the fine stands. The second email is from the HOA attorney. It is a form letter. It says the HOA has received my appeal and will schedule a hearing within 30 days. It says I am required to submit all evidence at least 7 days before the hearing. It says failure to appear will result in automatic denial. The third email is another group blast. It is from Patricia. Subject line, parking enforcement reminder. It says the HOA is partnering with a new tow company to provide enhanced enforcement services. It says the company will be patrolling the community daily. It says any vehicle without a valid permit will be towed immediately. I scroll down. The email includes a photo of a tow truck with the company logo. I recognize it. It is the same truck that was here yesterday. The rest of the emails are from neighbors. Most of them are confused. A few are angry. One guy says his car got towed overnight and the tow company is demanding $400 to release it. Another woman says she came home from a business trip to find a boot on her car because her guest pass expired while she was gone. Someone else says the HOA is threatening to tow any vehicle parked on the street after 10 p.m., even though street parking has always been allowed. This is not just about me anymore. Patricia is running an enforcement racket, and she is using the tow company to squeeze money out of everyone. I call the tow company. I get a dispatcher. I explain the situation. I ask if they have a contract with the HOA. The dispatcher says yes. I ask if they have a copy of the board resolution authorizing the tow. The dispatcher puts me on hold. 5 minutes later, a manager comes on the line. He says the HOA provided verbal authorization. I ask for documentation. He says they do not need documentation for verbal authorization. I tell him that is not true. Minnesota state law requires written authorization for non-consensual tows. He says he will look into it and hangs up. I call back an hour later. The line goes to voicemail. I spend the rest of the day digging. I pull the tow company's state license from the public database. I check their complaint history. They have 17 complaints in the last 2 years. Most of them are for improper tows. None of them resulted in penalties because the tow company always produces authorization paperwork after the fact. I call the state licensing board. I file a complaint. I attach my dashcam footage. I attach the HOA emails. I explain that the tow company is operating without proper written authorization and is working with an HOA board member to target specific residents. The licensing board says they will investigate. They say it could take 60 to 90 days. I do not have 60 to 90 days. The HOA is claiming a new enforcement wave starts at midnight, and Patricia is using the clock like a weapon. I start calling attorneys. The first 3 I try do not take HOA cases. The 4th one does, but she wants a $5,000 retainer. I do not have that. The 5th attorney offers a free consultation. His name is Greg. He is in his 50s, and he sounds tired. I explain everything. He listens. When I finish, he says, "Do you have proof the tow was unauthorized?" "I have dashcam footage," I say. "Does it show Patricia giving direct instructions to the driver?" "Yes." "Does it show her admitting the rule change was not properly noticed?" "She did not admit that on camera, but the email timestamp proves it." "That is good," Greg says. "But it is not enough. You need something that shows intent. You need proof she knew the tow was illegal and did it anyway." "I have her threatening me," I say. "She said she could keep me on the agenda for 6 months." "That is harassment," Greg says. "But it is not proof of intent to commit an unlawful tow." "What do I need?" "You need her on record saying she ordered the tow without authorization," Greg says. "Or you need the tow company admitting they did not have proper paperwork. Ideally, you need both." I think about the tow driver. He was uncomfortable the whole time. He hesitated. He looked at Patricia like he was not sure this was legal. "The driver might talk," I say. "Maybe," Greg says. "But he is not going to volunteer anything. You would need to subpoena him, and that requires a lawsuit. Do you want to sue the HOA?" "I do not know," I say. "I just want them to stop." "Then you need to win at the hearing," Greg says. "Bring your footage. Bring the email timestamps. Bring the CC and Rs. Show the board that Patricia violated the rules. Make them vote her down." "What if they do not?" "Then you sue," Greg says. "And it is going to cost you a lot more than $500. I thank him and hang up. I spend the next 2 days preparing. I print out every email. I make a timeline. I highlight every rule Patricia violated. I burn the dashcam footage to a USB drive. I practice my presentation. The hearing is scheduled for Thursday night. It is in the clubhouse conference room. I show up 15 minutes early. The room is set up like a courtroom. There is a long table at the front for the board. There are a few rows of chairs for residents. Patricia is already there, sitting at the board table with 2 other members. She does not look at me. The board president calls the meeting to order. His name is Ron. He is in his 60s, retired, and he looks like he does not want to be here. He reads the agenda. There are 4 hearings scheduled. Mine is 3rd. The first hearing is a woman who got fined for having her garage door open past 9 p.m. She explains that she was unloading groceries and forgot to close it. The board does not care. They uphold the fine. She leaves crying. The second hearing is a guy who got fined for parking his motorcycle in his driveway. He says motorcycles are allowed. The board says they changed the rule last month. He says he was not notified. The board says they sent an email. He says he never got it. The board does not care. They uphold the fine. Then it is my turn. Ron reads my name. He says I am appealing a $500 fine for interfering with an authorized tow operation. He asks if I am present. I stand up. Yes. Ron looks at Patricia. Do you want to present the board's case? Patricia stands up. She walks to the front of the room. She does not have any notes. She just starts talking. On the morning of the incident, she says, this resident parked his vehicle in a designated fire lane. I informed him that he was in violation and needed to move. He refused. I contacted our tow vendor and authorized removal of the vehicle. The resident became aggressive and physically blocked the tow operator from performing his duties. He then contacted the property manager and made false claims about the legality of the tow. The tow operator, fearing for his safety, chose to leave. The resident's actions constitute interference with an authorized enforcement action under Section 12 of the CC&Rs. The fine is appropriate and should be upheld. She sits down. Ron looks at me. Do you want to respond? I walk to the front. I plug the USB drive into my laptop. I connect the laptop to the projector. The screen lights up. I am going to show you footage from my dash cam, I say. It was recorded on the morning of the incident. It shows what actually happened. I hit play. The video starts. It shows Patricia walking up to my truck. It shows her yelling. It shows the tow driver positioning the wheel lift. It shows Angela arriving. It shows Patricia holding up the Ziploc bag. It shows the driver leaving. I pause the video. This footage shows several things, I say. First, Patricia claims this was an authorized tow, but she never provided written authorization to the tow company. Minnesota law requires written authorization for non-consensual tows. Patricia violated state law. Patricia interrupts. That is not true. I provided verbal authorization. Verbal authorization is not sufficient, I say. I have a copy of the statute right here. I hand Ron a printed copy of the state tow law. He reads it. He frowns. Second, I continue. Patricia claims I was parked in a fire lane, but the curb has no markings. The CC&Rs require fire lanes to be marked. I have the relevant section highlighted. I hand Ron a copy of the CC&Rs. He reads it. He frowns again. Third, Patricia claims the rule change was valid, but the rule change was emailed at 11 p.m. the night before and claimed to be effective immediately. The CC&Rs require 14 days advance notice for rule changes. I have the email timestamp and the CC&Rs section right here. I hand Ron both documents. He reads them. He looks at Patricia. When did we pass this rule change? Last night, Patricia says. Emergency session. Who was present? Ron asks. Just me and Linda, Patricia says, nodding at the other board member. Ron looks at Linda. Did you vote on this? Linda hesitates. I thought we were just discussing it, she says. Ron puts the documents down. He looks at me. Anything else? Yes, I say. Patricia threatened me. She said she could keep me on the agenda for 6 months if I did not comply. That is harassment. It is also evidence that this fine is retaliatory. I filed a complaint about Patricia last week, and she has been targeting me ever since. I hit play again. The video shows Patricia saying, I can put you on the agenda and keep you there. Ron watches the video. He does not say anything. Patricia is staring at the screen like she wants to rip it off the wall. I turn off the projector. Based on this evidence, I say, I am asking the board to rescind the fine and issue a formal reprimand to Patricia for abusing her authority. Ron looks at the other board members. They look at each other. Nobody speaks for a long time. Finally, Ron clears his throat. We will take this under advisement, he says. You will receive a written decision within 10 business days. That is it. The hearing is over. I pack up my laptop and leave. Patricia does not say anything. She just sits there with her arms crossed. 10 days later, I get an email. It is from Ron. It says the board reviewed the evidence and determined that the fine was issued in error. It says the fine is rescinded. It says Patricia acted within her authority and no reprimand is warranted. It says the matter is closed. I read the email 3 times. They rescinded the fine, but they refused to hold Patricia accountable. She broke state law, and they are covering for her. I forward the email to Greg, the attorney. He calls me an hour later. They are protecting her, he says. I know. Do you want to sue? I do not know, I say. What are my chances? 50-50, Greg says. You have good evidence, but HOA cases are unpredictable. Judges do not like getting involved in community disputes. They will tell you to handle it internally. I already tried that. Then you sue, Greg says. But it is going to cost you. And even if you win, you are not going to get much. Maybe your legal fees. Maybe an injunction stopping Patricia from targeting you. But you are not going to get punitive damages, and you are not going to change the culture. What if I go to the press? You can try, Greg says. But most reporters do not care about HOA disputes unless someone got seriously hurt or there is a big financial scandal. I hang up. I feel stuck. I got the fine rescinded, but Patricia is still in power. The tow company is still patrolling the neighborhood. And the enforcement blitz is still happening. If you are enjoying this chaos, hit that like button and subscribe for more HOA nightmare stories. 3 days later, I get another email. It is from a neighbor named Steve. He says he is organizing a group to recall Patricia and the board. He says they need 50 signatures to trigger a special election. He asks if I want to help. I email him back. Yes. We meet at Steve's house the next night. There are 8 of us. Steve is a retired engineer. He has spreadsheets. He has voting records. He has copies of every violation notice sent in the last 6 months. He has been tracking Patricia for a year. She is running a scam, Steve says. She gets kickbacks from the tow company. Every time they tow a car, she gets a cut. How do you know? Someone asks. I do not have proof, Steve says, but I have patterns. Look at this. He pulls up a spreadsheet. It shows every tow in the last 6 months. It shows the date, the time, the location, and the resident. Almost all of them happened within 24 hours of the resident filing a complaint or attending a board meeting. She is targeting dissenters, Steve says. Anyone who pushes back gets towed. Can we prove it? I ask. Not yet, Steve says. But if we can get 50 signatures, we can force a special election. And if we can get her off the board, we can audit the books. If there is a kickback scheme, it will show up in the financials. We spend the next 2 weeks collecting signatures. We go door to door. We explain what is happening. Most people are scared to sign. They do not want to be targeted. A few people are angry enough to sign anyway. By the end of the second week, we have 43 signatures. We need 7 more. I am walking back to my truck after another round of door knocking when I see the tow truck again. It is parked near the mailboxes. The driver is standing outside, talking on his phone. I recognize him. It is the same guy from the attempted tow. I walk over. He sees me coming and hangs up. Hey, I say. He does not say anything. I am not here to cause trouble, I say. I just want to ask you a question. He crosses his arms. Do you have written authorization for all the tows you do here? I ask. He hesitates. I have authorization from the HOA. Written or verbal? He does not answer. Look, I say, I am not trying to get you in trouble. But if you are doing tows without written authorization, you are violating state law. And if the HOA is pressuring you to do illegal tows, that is a bigger problem. He looks around. Nobody is watching. He leans in. She calls me, he says quietly. She tells me which cars to tow. She does not give me paperwork half the time. She just says do it, and I will send the authorization later. Does she always send it later? Sometimes, he says. Sometimes she forgets. I have done maybe 15 tows here in the last 2 months, and I only have written authorization for 6 of them. Why do you keep doing it? I ask. Because the HOA contract is worth 30 grand a year, he says. If I lose it, I lose my biggest client. What if I told you the state licensing board is investigating? He goes pale. Are they? Yes. He looks at his truck. Then he looks at me. If I cooperate, will they drop the complaint against me? I do not know, I say, but I can put you in touch with the investigator. He thinks for a minute. Then he nods. All right. I will talk to them. He gives me his name and number. I email the licensing board investigator that night. I explain that the tow driver is willing to cooperate. The investigator calls me the next day. She says she will reach out to him. 2 days later, Steve calls me. He sounds excited. We got the signatures, he says. 51. We are filing the recall petition tomorrow. The next morning, Steve submits the petition to the property management company. Angela, the property manager, confirms receipt. She says the board has 30 days to schedule a special election. Patricia does not wait 30 days. That afternoon, I get another group email. Subject line, special assessment. The email says the board has approved a one-time special assessment of $2,000 per unit to cover emergency repairs to the community gate system. The email says payment is due within 60 days. It says failure to pay will result in a lien. I call Steve. Did you see this? Yeah, he says. It is retaliation. There is nothing wrong with the gate. Can she do this? Technically, yes, Steve says. The board has the authority to levy special assessments for emergency repairs, but they need to show documentation, and they need to give residents a chance to review the contractor bids. Did they? No, Steve says. This is the first we are hearing about it. We spend the next week fighting the assessment. We file objections. We demand contractor bids. We demand an inspection report. The board does not respond. Meanwhile, Patricia is busy. She sends another group email announcing that the community pool will be closed for the rest of the season due to maintenance issues. She sends another email saying the fitness center is being locked due to vandalism. She is shutting down every amenity one by one. It is an amenities lockout threat delivered like a power trip. People are getting angry. More neighbors sign the recall petition. We are up to 65 signatures now. The board finally schedules the special election. It is set for 3 weeks out. Patricia announces she is running for re-election. She sends a campaign email. It says she has served the community faithfully for 5 years. It says she has saved the HOA thousands of dollars through aggressive enforcement. It says if residents do not support her, the community will descend into chaos. Steve announces he is running against her. So does another neighbor named Maria. So do I. The campaign is brutal. Patricia sends daily emails attacking us. She says Steve is a troublemaker who wants to eliminate all rules. She says Maria is secretly planning to sell the common areas to developers. She says I am running a smear campaign because I could not handle being held accountable for my own violations. None of it is true, but it does not matter. Patricia has been on the board for 5 years. She has allies. She has a mailing list. She has control of the community website. We fight back. We go door to door again. We hand out flyers. We hold a town hall meeting. 30 people show up. We explain what has been happening. We show the dash cam footage. We show the email timestamps. We show the tow records. People are furious, but they are also scared. Patricia is in the back of the room taking notes. Everyone knows she is writing down names. The election is 2 days away when I get a call from Greg, the attorney. He says the state licensing board finished their investigation. They found that the tow company violated state law by performing tows without written authorization. They are suspending the company's license for 6 months. They are fining the company $10,000, and they are referring the case to the county attorney for possible criminal charges against Patricia. Can they charge her? I ask. Maybe, Greg says, depends on whether they can prove she knowingly ordered illegal tows. But even if they do not charge her, the licensing board report is public record. You can use it in the election. I call Steve. We print 50 copies of the licensing board report. We hand them out the night before the election. The next day, I show up to vote. The polling place is the clubhouse. There is a line. Patricia is standing outside, handing out flyers. She sees me and glares. I vote, then I wait. The polls close at 8 p.m. The board counts the ballots in the conference room. It takes 2 hours. At 10 p.m., Ron comes out and announces the results. Patricia lost. Steve won. Maria won. I won. Patricia is standing in the corner. Her face is red. She does not say anything. She just picks up her bag and walks out. The next morning, the new board holds its first meeting. We vote to terminate the tow company contract immediately. We vote to rescind the special assessment. We vote to reopen the pool and fitness center. We vote to conduct a full financial audit. 2 weeks later, the audit report comes back. It shows that Patricia approved over $40,000 in tow fees in the last year. It shows that the HOA paid the tow company directly, and the tow company paid Patricia a monthly consulting fee of $500. It was not technically illegal, but it was a clear conflict of interest, and she never disclosed it. We forward the report to the county attorney. They open an investigation. 3 weeks later, I get a call from the tow truck driver. He says his company reviewed all the dash cam footage from their trucks. They found something. He asks if I can meet him. We meet at a coffee shop. He hands me a USB drive. This is from our truck, he says. The camera was running the whole time. You need to see this. I go home and plug in the drive. The footage starts. It shows the tow truck pulling into Clearbrook the morning of the attempted tow. It shows Patricia walking up to the driver's window. And then it shows her handing him something. I pause the video and zoom in. It is a tow truck remote control in a gloved hand. I rewind and watch again. Patricia is giving the driver a remote control for his own truck. She is telling him which buttons to press. She is literally directing the tow operation herself. I call Greg. He tells me to send him the footage immediately. He says this is evidence of unlawful interference with a tow operator. He says it could be criminal. I send the footage to Greg. I send it to the county attorney. I send it to the state licensing board. I send it to Steve. Steve calls me an hour later. This is it, he says. This is the trump card. We can use this to force Patricia to resign from any future board positions. We can use this to void every tow she ever authorized. We can use this to get refunds for every resident who paid bogus fees. The next board meeting is packed. The room is standing room only. Patricia is not there. Ron, the old board president, is there. He is sitting in the back with his arms crossed. Steve calls the meeting to order. He announces that the board has received new evidence related to the prior administration's tow enforcement practices. He plays the dash cam footage on the projector. The room goes silent. You can hear people breathing. On the screen, Patricia is handing the tow truck remote control to the driver and pointing at my truck. Steve pauses the video. This footage proves that the former vice president personally directed an unlawful tow operation, he says. It proves she violated state law. It proves she lied to this board and to the property manager. And it proves every tow she authorized in the last year is potentially void. Someone in the audience raises their hand. Does that mean we can get refunds? Yes, Steve says. If you paid a tow fee in the last year and you believe it was improper, you can file a claim with the new board. We will review each case and issue refunds where appropriate. The room erupts. People are talking over each other. Someone starts clapping. Ron gets up and leaves. Over the next 2 weeks, 43 residents file refund claims. The board reviews them. We approve 38. The total refund amount is $22,000. We do not have $22,000. The HOA reserves are depleted because Patricia spent everything on enforcement and legal fees. We call an emergency meeting to figure out what to do. Maria suggests we sue the tow company. They were complicit. They have liability insurance. We can recover the funds from them. We hire Greg to file the lawsuit. He sends a demand letter to the tow company. He includes the dashcam footage. He includes the licensing board report. He includes the audit. The tow company settles within a week. They agree to refund all tow charges, void all outstanding tow fees, and cancel the HOA contract. They agree to pay an additional $10,000 to cover the HOA's legal fees. They issue a public statement saying they regret their role in the enforcement abuses and they are implementing new procedures to prevent future violations. We use the settlement money to issue the refunds. Every resident who was wrongfully towed gets their money back. 2 months later, the county attorney files charges against Patricia. She is charged with unlawful interference with a tow operator, a misdemeanor. She is also charged with theft by deception for accepting kickbacks from the tow company without disclosing the conflict of interest. She pleads no contest. She is sentenced to 1-year probation and ordered to pay restitution to the HOA. The judge also orders her to resign from any HOA leadership positions for 5 years. The week after the sentencing, I get an email from the property management company. It is from Angela. Subject line: correction notice. The email says the HOA is issuing a formal correction regarding prior enforcement communications. It says several violation notices sent under the prior administration were issued without proper authority. It says the HOA sends a correction email retracting the smear. It says affected residents will be notified individually. I print the email and put it on my fridge. A few days later, I am parked in the visitor lot when I see Patricia walking toward the mailboxes. She sees me. She stops. We make eye contact. She does not say anything. She just turns around and walks the other way. I get out of my truck and check the windshield. My permit decal is still there, bright green, valid through December 2025. No boot. No tow notice. No harassment. I get back in my truck and drive home. The next board meeting, we vote on a new parking enforcement policy. No more tow on-site rules. No more unannounced rule changes. No more predatory vendor contracts. Every tow now requires written authorization from the board president and the property manager. Every violation notice now includes a clear appeals process. Every fine now requires a hearing with advance notice. We also vote to create a resident oversight committee. Any resident can join. The committee reviews all enforcement actions and reports to the board quarterly. If they find abuses, they can trigger a special election. At the end of the meeting, Ron stands up. He is still technically a board member, even though he lost his president's seat. He clears his throat. I owe everyone an apology, he says. I knew Patricia was overstepping. I knew the tow situation was questionable. But I did not push back because I did not want the conflict. I let it happen. And a lot of people got hurt because I stayed silent. The room is quiet. Ron sits down. Nobody claps. But nobody yells either. It is just acknowledgement. After the meeting, Steve pulls me aside. You did good, he says. You could have just paid the fine and moved on. But you fought. And you got everyone else to fight too. I did not do it alone, I say. No, Steve says. But you started it. And that matters. A few weeks later, I am at a city council meeting for something unrelated to the HOA. I see the tow truck driver there. He is testifying about tow industry regulations. He is advocating for stricter oversight and mandatory written authorization for all non-consensual tows. After the meeting, I walk over. Hey, I say. He looks at me. Hey, thanks for cooperating, I say. He shrugs. I should have done it sooner. I knew what she was doing was wrong. I just did not want to lose the contract. You did the right thing in the end. Yeah, he says, and it cost me that contract. But I am sleeping better now. He walks away. I stand there for a minute thinking about what he said. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you something, but the alternative costs you more. The following month, the HOA holds its annual meeting. Steve is re-elected as president. Maria is re-elected. I decide not to run again. I have done my part. It is time to let someone else take the lead. At the end of the meeting, Steve announces that the board received a letter from the Clearbrook Property Owners Association attorney. The letter says the HOA attorney reviewed the prior enforcement practices and found multiple violations of state law and the CC&Rs. The letter says the attorney is recommending the HOA adopt new governance policies to prevent future abuses. The letter also says the HOA attorney corrected Patricia in plain language in a separate memo to the board, calling her actions indefensible and a liability to the association. The letter is read into the public record. It is archived. It is permanent. I walk out of the meeting and head to my truck. The visitor lot is quiet. No tow trucks, no boots, no harassment, just a normal parking lot in a normal neighborhood. I get in my truck and sit there for a minute. I think about the last few months, the tow attempts, the fake evidence, the hearings, the recall election, the dash cam footage, the settlement, the charges, the refunds. It was exhausting. It was stressful. It cost me time and money and energy. But it worked. The system was broken, and we fixed it. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough. I start the engine and drive home. When I get there, I check my mailbox. There is one envelope. It is from the HOA. I open it. It is a refund check for $500, the fine that was rescinded months ago. The memo line says, restitution per board resolution 2025-04. I deposit the check the next day. A week later, I am working a night shift when I get a text from Steve. It is a screenshot of an email. Patricia is moving out of Clearbrook. She listed her condo for sale. The listing went live this morning. I text back, good riddance. Steve replies, she is listing it as investor-friendly, says the HOA is easy to work with now. I laugh. I send back a thumbs-up emoji. The next morning, I am getting coffee when I run into Angela, the property manager. She is in line ahead of me. She turns around and sees me. Hey, she says, I heard you were stepping down from the board. Yeah, I say. Time to let someone else deal with it. You did a good thing, she says. A lot of property managers would have just ignored the whole situation. But you made it impossible to ignore. Thanks, I say. She pays for her coffee and leaves. I order mine and sit down. I pull out my phone and check the HOA group email. There is a new message from Steve. Subject line, new parking vendor. The email says the board has selected a new parking enforcement vendor. The vendor specializes in compliance monitoring, not towing. They will issue courtesy warnings for first-time violations. They will only authorize tows for repeat offenders or vehicles blocking emergency access. The email includes the vendor's contact info and a FAQ. I close my email and finish my coffee. It is not perfect, but it is better. Over the next few months, things settle down. The new board implements the oversight committee. The parking enforcement vendor issues a few warnings, but no tows. The pool reopens. The fitness center reopens. The special assessment is officially rescinded. Patricia's condo sells. The new owner is a young couple with a dog. They seem nice. They do not cause trouble. I run into the husband one day while I am checking my mail. He introduces himself. His name is Matt. He says he heard there was some drama with the prior HOA board. He asks if it is still an issue. No, I say. We fixed it. Good, he says. We almost did not buy here because of the reviews online, but our realtor said the board changed, and things are better now. They are, I say. He thanks me and walks away. I stand there for a minute, thinking about how close we came to losing good neighbors because of Patricia's enforcement regime. How many people looked at Clearbrook and decided not to buy because of the reputation? How much property value did we lose because one person abused their power? It is hard to measure, but I know it was real. A few weeks later, I am sitting in my living room when I get a notification on my phone. It is from the county court system. Patricia's probation case has been updated. I open it. The case file says she violated probation by failing to pay restitution on time. A warrant has been issued. I do not feel happy about it. I do not feel vindicated. I just feel tired. I close the notification and put my phone down. I turn on the TV and watch something mindless for a while. The next day, I am at the grocery store when I see Ron, the former board president. He is in the produce section. He sees me and nods. I nod back. We do not talk. There is nothing left to say. I finish shopping and head home. When I pull into Clearbrook, I see a tow truck in the lot. My heart jumps. Then I see it is not hooked to anything. The driver is just sitting there, eating lunch. I park and get out. The driver sees me and waves. I wave back. He goes back to his sandwich. I walk to my front door and unlock it. I set down my groceries and sit on the couch. I pull out my phone and open my photos. I scroll back to the dashcam footage from that morning months ago. Patricia yelling, the tow truck idling, the wheel lift extending, Angela arriving, the driver leaving. I watch it one more time. Then I delete it. I do not need it anymore. It is over. That weekend, the HOA holds a community barbecue. It is the first one in 2 years. Steve organized it. He rented a tent. He bought burgers and hot dogs. He set up a grill by the pool. I show up around noon. There are maybe 50 people there. Families, couples, retirees, kids running around, dogs on leashes. It feels normal. It feels like a community again. Steve sees me and walks over. He hands me a burger. You did not have to come, he says. I wanted to. I say, good, he says, because I am about to announce something, and I want you to hear it first. He walks to the middle of the tent and taps a plastic cup with a fork. The crowd goes quiet. Hey everyone, Steve says. Thanks for coming. I know the last year has been rough, but I wanted to take a minute to recognize someone who helped turn things around. He points at me. This guy right here refused to back down when he was being targeted. He gathered evidence. He fought at hearings. He helped organize the recall. And because of that, we have a functional board again. So let us give him a round of applause. The crowd claps. I feel my face go red. I wave them off, but people keep clapping. A few people come over and shake my hand. One woman thanks me for getting her tow refund. Another guy says he was about to sell his condo before the recall, but now he is staying. It is awkward and uncomfortable, but it is also kind of nice. I stay for an hour, then head home. When I get there, I check my mailbox one more time. There is a single envelope. It is from the county attorney's office. I open it. It is a victim notification letter. It says Patricia pleaded guilty to theft by deception and was sentenced to 90 days in jail, suspended, with 2 years probation. It says she is required to pay full restitution to the HOA and complete 100 hours of community service. I fold the letter and put it in a drawer. I do not need to think about Patricia anymore. She is gone. The system worked. Not fast, not perfectly, but it worked. That night I get a call from my mom. She is doing better. The rehab is helping. She asks how things are going with the HOA. I tell her it is all settled. She says she is proud of me. We talk for a while, then say goodnight. I hang up and sit on my couch. I think about the last few months. The stress, the meetings, the emails, the hearings, the footage, the recall, the settlement, the refunds, the charges, the resolution. It was a lot, but it was worth it. A few days later, I am walking to my truck when I see a new family moving into the building across from mine. They have a U-Haul truck and a bunch of boxes. The husband is carrying a couch. The wife is directing traffic. 2 kids are running around with a soccer ball. I walk over. Need any help? The husband looks at me. You sure? Yeah, I say. I am just heading out, but I can spare a few minutes. We carry the couch up 2 flights of stairs. The husband thanks me. He introduces himself. His name is David. His wife is Laura. The kids are Emma and Noah. We just moved from Minneapolis, David says. We heard this is a good community. It is, I say. It is better now than it was a few months ago. What happened a few months ago? Laura asks. Long story, I say. But the short version is the old board was abusing their power, and we voted them out. The new board is much better. David nods. Good to know. We were worried about HOA drama. Our last place had issues. This place has rules, I say, but they are enforced fairly now. If you have a problem, the board will listen. That is all we want, Laura says. I help them carry a few more boxes, then head out. As I am walking away, I hear Emma ask her mom if they can go to the pool. Laura says yes. They sound happy. I get in my truck and drive to work. My shift is uneventful. I fix a few brake lines, rotate some tires, change some oil. At the end of the shift, I clock out and head home. When I pull into Clearbrook, the visitor lot is empty. No tow trucks, no boots, no drama. Just a quiet night in a quiet neighborhood. I park, get out, and walk to my front door. I unlock it, step inside, and close the door behind me. I take off my jacket and sit down. I think about everything that happened. The fight, the evidence, the hearings, the recall, the settlement, the resolution. It is over. Really over. And it feels good. I sit there for a minute, then get up and make dinner. I eat. I watch some TV. I check my email. There is one new message from the HOA. Subject line, board meeting minutes. I open it. It is the minutes from last week's meeting. I skim through them. Nothing major. A few maintenance updates. A budget discussion. A motion to approve new landscaping. Normal HOA stuff. The way it is supposed to be. I close the email and put my phone down. I think about the system. How it was broken. How we fixed it. How it will probably break again someday, and someone else will have to fix it. But for now, it works, and that is enough. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.